So the ban list just dropped, and let's go over the current best decks. This is the final ever sale for Zero Damage Gaming, and this brand new beautiful playmat is going to release alongside it. There's still some August orders that need to be shipped out, which is going to be happening soon, alongside then all of the orders that are going to be coming in. And so if you want your last chance to get these beautiful designs, you can go to zerodamagegaming.com and use the code Solemn for a discount. The tiers are nameless, so people can't cry about them. Fiendsmith, this is just an engine, and I think it's the best engine in the game still, even with Lacrima being banned. I think this engine is still crazy. Of course, it's weaker, but if you have to think like, this is an engine I can throw into decks, this is like the only good one. Then we have Branded. I think Branded is, even with Branded Fusion at 3, I just don't think it's all that great. I literally just don't know if it still works with both of them limited. I know the OCG hit wasn't enough, but I don't know if the 2 hits together are enough. Then we have Kashtira. I think Kashtira is actually pretty solid because it can play Shifter, and Shifter on its own is crazy. The problem that it has, however, is that it hard loses to Tenpai. You can say, oh, Unicorn is really good into Tenpai, but in my opinion, if Tenpai just goes, here's a board breaker, clears the board, because Kashtira doesn't inherently make any good negates, and if they want to be able to make like DSRA or something like that, then they can't really play Shifter because they're playing the Feedsmith engine. Overall, this deck just doesn't like those breakers, and so with Tenpai being in the format and Tenpai's telling you, go first, enjoy, you going Fenrir Unicorn Pass is just really shy. I actually tried building this deck with like one Fiendsmith, just so this deck could like make a Caesar or an Evolzar or something like that, but it just, I don't know, like if it wasn't for Tenpai, I unironically think Kashtira could still compete. Then there's Labyrinth. Labyrinth is pretty okay. There's Musket. Musket is pretty okay. Manadium, I'm very sorry. Memento is actually pretty solid. The Lacrima hit hurts it, so the Fiendsmith version of the deck got worse, but then it lost Prosperity, so the pure version got worse, but I think other decks got hit harder to the point where Memento is still just solid. Mimighoul, it is just a Floodgate deck, I'm very sorry. Pearly is still very, very good in my opinion. There's also people trying like Pearly Fiendsmith, which is pretty spicy, though without Lacrima, maybe that gets a little bit worse. Rescue Ace. So many people talk mad shit on Rescue Ace because they're like, why would you play this if you can play like Fire King or Snake Eye was always a thing. But like, this deck is still really solid. It's just that it's the worst fire deck. But being a fire deck already puts you above everything below you, in my opinion. And now that the pure version of Snake Eye got weakened, I think Rescue Ace or Fire King are gonna be taking its place as like the fire deck, but probably Fire King. So for that reason, I'm not putting it like higher than this, but I'm putting respect on this deck. I think this deck is actually pretty real. Then there's Ritual Beast. I'm not a huge fan of it. I saw Euros, I was there, I'm aware of what happened, but in my opinion, this deck has way too little non-engine to actually reasonably compete. It's just, it needs to open Shifter. Then we have Runic Stun. I am very sad to report that this deck is still alive and well. Even with Skill Drain at 1, they just have other versions. There's plenty of floods. It's the fact that they can draw a billion floods that's the issue. And then them also having the deck out win condition. That is what's breaking Runic Stun. I agree the floods are like toxic, but it's the runic part that makes it work. This is definitely like one of the best decks right now. Salamangreat, I think Salamangrate's pretty dope. It's underplayed, of course, for reasons, but I think it's solid. People sleep on it. Then Pure Snake Eye. So Pure Snake Eye is good, but I think it's not as good as other fire decks. My issue, however, with the list is that it doesn't feel that different. You know, if you have to play now, you know, Fire King Snake Eye, do you feel like you're playing a different deck? Like, honestly, do you feel like you play a different deck? You're not resolving Flambird, sure, but everything else is the same. So like, Then Tearlaments. Not being able to play non-engine is just so bad. With the Fiendsmith cards, you can do it a little more, but the problem is like this tier list so far would make you think, oh, it's looking pretty diverse. You know, look, a bunch of decks are okay, but the problem is that the most common decks you're going to be facing are going to be the top decks, you know, Yubel style stuff, Fire King style stuff, and those are just better than you. Those are better than tier by a mile. They go first, good luck. You're gonna have to sack a little to stand a chance, because you don't really have that much non-engine space, and then you can think, oh, but going first I might have a solid shot against them. But even then, hand traps can kind of still hurt you as a deck, but that's not really the issue. You know, you could argue that Tearlaman's matchup into some of the top decks is 50-50-ish with the dice roll. The problem is that your most common matchup is going to be Tenpai, and those are just going to open Shifter. And then there's going to be a Ritual Beast, and that's going to open Shifter. And then there's going to be Runic Stun. And without Beatrice, you're not reliably reaching your shufflers anymore to deal with that. And going second, maybe you can't even deal with all the floods and the endless runic drawing. And then they start banishing from your deck, and they might destroy your engine within 1 or 2 turns, or maybe they don't. It just feels so finicky. But really the main issue is, again, half your tournament run is probably going to be Tenpai. It is probably the most played deck or second most played deck up until maybe like higher rounds in YCSs. And then you're just going to get shifted and shifted, shifted and shifted. So in my opinion, if it wasn't for Shifter still being legal, this deck would probably be somewhere like here, in my opinion. But because Shifter is going to be like defining half your tournament, I think it's right here. I went to an OTS the other day. I think like 80% of my matches had Shifter in them. So just know. Next we have Tenpai. I think Tenpai actually isn't that good, but I think Shifter is very good. And you're going to see this shit a lot. So therefore, I'm going to put it right here. You're going to see it so much. It's going to get random auto wins. It's going to draw combinations of Raigeki. Your board is going to be gone. They're going to go hup, 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 attack, and you're just going to get scammed by them. But they have so many combinations that scam you that you need to respect it as a deck, even though like you shouldn't. Like the engine itself is like fine, and the limit to the field spell definitely did hurt. Though to be fair, they're probably going to play terraforming, so it's going to be like field spell, terraforming, set rotation definitely as well. So 1 in 3 games, you're still going to get nuked by the field spell as well. Overall, not having a great time right here. Then Vanquish Soul. I think Vanquish Soul is just, sorry. I mean, it's better than these. It's also a shifter deck. Maybe, no, I'm going to have to put some respect on Vanquish Soul. Is it better than Branded? I don't think so. Branded is probably better than Salad. I don't feel happy about putting Branded higher than Salad because Salad can fit so many hand traps and Branded just cannot. And I think in a world where Yubel is best deck, what the hell is Branded doing? You will never break that board. It's just not happening. So like if we were in a breaker format, I think Branded could be right here, but we're not. We're in a hand trap format. In a hand trap format that has the best deck being like a hard counter to you, in my opinion. Whitewoods is very underrated. I think Whitewoods, the runic bullshit deck that searches skill drain and whatever, I think that's pretty solid. And then Yubel is Bedif. Welcome, Yubel. So Yubel was already like the second best deck, and then Pure got knocked down a little. So now it's just the best deck. It is still an FTK style combo deck. You know, it just plays with itself for 10 minutes. And boom, there's a board you can never break. Enjoy. Hope you draw Rasphere mode. You get shifted and boop, your deck is garbage. Good luck. Overall, just a bad vibe when playing this. And I say this as a huge Yubel fanboy. I mean, I hope you can see it right there. You know, I'm a huge Yubel fanboy. I love this deck, but this mirror is so awful. This mirror is just infuriating. But if you want to have the most swag in this mirror, be sure to pick up this playmat using the code Solemn. Link will be in the description. Then we have Drytron with Eva. Is this deck going to be real just because of Eva? I highly doubt it. I think it's going to be right here. Also, I think Magical Musket might be better than Tyr, and Fenrir is... Yeah, okay. Actually, I think Kashtira being so shit into Tenpai already puts it like right here. But I think Tearlaman's being so shit into like Shifter being alive also puts it right here. Again, we'll try to make this list better as we go along. Next, Fire King. All right, straight to here. So, in general, in my opinion, the Fire engine is better than the Yubel engine. While the end board of Yubel is better, Yubel has to play so many more worse cards, and the only good starters are the Yubel ones. Whenever you start with Fiendsmith or with the Beckoning cards, your end boards are getting meaningfully worse, especially without Lacrima. And so now, half your deck is like lower quality starters, whereas in Fire King, it's all, I mean, it's virtually the same. And then overall, all the Fire cards are just much more high quality. So in my opinion, this is going to be like the new Fire deck, and I don't think it's that meaningfully more fun than Pure. Again, though, Fiendsmith is like an engine, so I'll probably move this like away because it's not a deck. But just know it's like the best engine ever, of course. Then we have Flu. Flu is pretty good into like Caesar and Soul of Rage from Yubel, and that is all. So I'm gonna put it here because it also dies really hard to Mulcharmy. Being a shifter deck helps, of course, but I don't know. I don't think it's real. Heroes also goodbye. Melodious is loses to breakers, but there's not that many breakers right now, right? I guess I'll put it right here. It doesn't really matter. This goes straight into cope. Sprite. I tried Sprite. I think Sprite with Fiendsmith is actually pretty decent. Its end board is good. Plays through hand traps very well. When you start with Fiendsmith, you don't even give that many Molchummy draws. You also still fit plenty of non-engine. You're not as reliant on your normal summon anymore thanks to Fiendsmith. The totally awesome stuff is also really, really solid. It can play hand traps or breakers, so the hand trap approach is harder because you can't fit as many if you're playing End Toad, and Nimble, and Fiendsmith, and the Sprite cards, which you kind of have to, question mark. So I do think this deck is like better than people give it credit for, but it does also still have issues. Like, it doesn't have quite as much non-engine space, but it does have more than Branded, and I respect it for that. Next, Voiceless. I think Voiceless is not that great. I would actually play Tearlaments before I would play Voiceless. That is wild. Then we have Dynamorphia. I don't think that's real. Infernoid. I just don't know enough about Infernoid. I know some people say it's like really solid, and others say, oh, it's a complete joke. So I'm gonna put that in I don't know. I don't have enough experience for it. And that is it. So again, I don't know doesn't mean they're bad. It just means I literally don't know. I don't want to pretend like I know. I have played a lot against a very good Gimmick Puppet player, but I just don't know if these 2 hits are like enough to stop the FTK from working. If the FTK still works, I think this deck is actually like right here. Yeah, if the FTK still works, it's right there. But if it doesn't, then well, of course, then it's just shite. So that's the list, in my opinion. The issue with this is that the format doesn't look more fun. The best deck is still just a semi-FTK deck, and the second best deck is also just a semi-FTK deck. And these 2 still just put up insane boards. They're practically the same decks from before. Lots of non-engine space. Play some silly floodgates in your side deck. And so they warp the whole format around them. You know, good luck, have fun. The only thing is that both of them are hurt more by Molchummy. Like, this Yubel will end on like Caesar Phantom under Molchummy, which is a good board. But so if you can combine Molchummy with a breaker, you're probably going to win. Or like Molchummy Imperm or something like that. Or just Molchummy combined with anything is going to be pretty solid. Fire King, of course, also does not like Molchummy at all compared to original Snake Eye. But then here's the issue, right? Like, some of the most common decks are going to be Runic Stun, Tenpai Shifter, Proto's Lock kind of garbage. And so we have the same as before. We have the semi-FTK decks, and then the toxic random auto-win garbage. If you find that enjoyable, cool. But if you don't, you know, if you didn't enjoy the past 3 months of Yu-Gi-Oh!, I don't think you're gonna enjoy the coming 3 months of Yu-Gi-Oh! Either. Yubel best deck though, and that's pretty base. Hope you found it interesting. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao. Go pick up the beautiful playmats. Again, last chance. Zero Damage Gaming will quit.